Imagine standing in a room where the weight of the world feels present, where words have the power not to just inform, but to move nations, to inspire change, to demand justice. That's the kind of presence Eleanor Roosevelt commanded. She stated, "It isn't enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it. And it isn't enough to believe in it. One must work at it." She demanded a call to action in her speech, The Struggle for Human Rights, and consistently highlighted the ongoing effort required to achieve and sustain peace. Today, I want to take you on a journey throughout the life of a woman whose voice didn't just echo in her time, it continues to resonate in ours. I knew of Eleanor Roosevelt before this, mainly as the First Lady of the United States, but it wasn't until I did a deep dive into her history that I really understood that she was more than a title, more than a figurehead. She was a force, a fighter for human rights, a champion of the oppressed, and someone who believed deeply in the power of ordinary people to make extraordinary change. Hi, my name is Sarah Apt, and today I will be informing you about the life and times of Eleanor Roosevelt. So, to truly appreciate her legacy, we'll explore three key aspects of her life: her remarkable background, the rhetorical skills that made her one of history's greatest orators, and the lasting impact that she has had on the world. So to understand her incredible journey, let's begin by exploring her early years and her passion for justice and unity that emerged at a very young age. So according to womenshistory.org, Roosevelt was born into a wealthy yet challenging upbringing. She overcame personal struggles, including the loss of her parents at the age of 10. These losses shaped her into someone who really understood suffering and resilience from a young age. Following their passing, she was raised by her maternal grandmother, Mary Hall, and tutored by her until the age of 15. And at 15, she was sent to Allenswood Academy, which was a private finishing school in Wimbledon, London, England, where she studied from 1899 to 1902. And her teacher, Mademoiselle Marie Souvestier, with her passionate embrace of social issues, opened Roosevelt up to the world of ideas and was an early force in her social and political development. Her passion for justice and equality truly bloomed at a young age. At 18, Roosevelt returned to New York and began volunteering with progressive women's groups in Manhattan. At this time, she taught poor immigrant girls on Manhattan's Lower East Side and began investigating working conditions in factories. Her professional years were quite something. She became the First Lady of the United States, revolutionizing the role by actively advocating for social justice and human rights. According to WhiteHouseHistory.org, in 1943, Roosevelt became the first First Lady to travel to an active war zone when she undertook a month-long journey to the war front in the Pacific. She was traveling as a representative of the Red Cross. She went to Australia, New Zealand, Guadalcanal, and numerous Pacific islands, visiting troops, hospitals, and factories. She also authored 6 books and traveled nationwide, delivering countless speeches. She truly revolutionized the role of First Lady, holding press conferences for female journalists at a time where women were often excluded from serious reporting. And this action forced newspapers to hire female reporters, giving women more opportunities in journalism. According to WhiteHouse.org, she had an impactful influence on Franklin Roosevelt's decision as president and in shaping both his cabinet and the New Deal. She lobbied her husband to appoint more women, successfully securing Frances Perkins as the first woman to lead the Department of Labor, among many others. Roosevelt also served as chair of the United Nations Human Rights Commission, leading the drafting of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, which is a huge accomplishment. She had famous and powerful speeches during her lifetime, and in 1960, she chaired the President's Commission on the Status of Women, which released groundbreaking studies about gender discrimination a year after her death in 1963. She worked on the Equal Pay Act as well, that was passed that same year. Her advocacy wasn't limited to institutional work. In the post-war years, she tirelessly traveled, speaking out against totalitarianism and advocating for social justice. For instance, she visited displaced persons camps across Europe and called for greater support for refugees and survivors of the Holocaust. Roosevelt's courage and values were so evident in actions like resigning from the Daughters of the American Revolution to protest against racial discrimination after they wouldn't let a Black female singer on stage. Now that we've uncovered a lot of Roosevelt's background, let's dive into the powerful rhetorical skills that made her such an influential orator. Roosevelt's ability to inspire and unite people stemmed from her mastery of rhetorical exigence using ethos, pathos, and logos, and her deep empathy for those near and far. Her speech, The Struggle for Human Rights, which she spoke in 1948 at the Sorbonne in Paris, responded to the urgent need for global unity and human dignity after World War II. So the rhetorical context was the drafting of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was set against the backdrop of rising totalitarianism and post-war recovery. According to the artistic proofs, ethos is based on an individual's credibility, authority, moral values, and whether the audience can trust them, which is often determined throughout the course of the speech and not necessarily imported based on the speaker's prior reputation. So Roosevelt's ethos was undeniable. She earned credibility not just through her position as chair of the United Nations Human Rights Commission, but also through decades of advocacy. Her actions, such as defending marginalized groups and opposing unjust policies, solidified her moral authority. These words in her speech showcase her sense of authority and deep responsibility. She stated, "We stand today at the threshold of a great event, both in the life of the United Nations and in the life of mankind." Also, according to the artistic proofs, speakers use pathos to put the audience into the right frame of mind and to be persuasive enough to move an audience to action. Roosevelt's emotional appeal in her speech was very powerful. She connected emotionally by evoking shared values like freedom, justice, and equality. For instance, she evoked past revolutions to illustrate the ongoing struggle for human rights, stating, "We are fighting this battle again today, as it was fought at the time of the French Revolution and the American Revolution." Her inclusive language, we and our, created unity and fostered hope for a much better future. According to the artistic proofs, logos, or logical appeal, is crucial in establishing a rational foundation for an argument. Facts are also required to support the speaker's argument. So Roosevelt presented logical arguments supported by historical examples, such as the devastation of World War II, to advocate for human rights as a defense against tyranny. She emphasizes the importance of human rights as a defense against tyranny, stating, "The future must see the rights of individuals safeguarded everywhere. The United Nations must hold fast by the rights which have been won through long struggles of our peoples." This connection between safeguarding individual rights and maintaining global peace truly rationalizes the creation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. She also draws on the impact of oppressive regimes, showing how the lack of fundamental rights leads to human suffering and social instability. Roosevelt argues, "Where, after all, do universal human rights begin? In small places, close to home. So close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world." This is actually my favorite quote from her speech. It really resonates with her audience by grounding the concept of human rights in everyday life and reminding them that these principles are not conceptual but crucial for communities' well-beings worldwide. Many rhetorical devices are present throughout Roosevelt's speech. Please note that all of the definitions for these are from thesaurus.com. So, anaphora is the repetition of a word or words at the beginning of two or more sentences, clauses, or verses. So, Eleanor often used repeated phrases like "we must" to stress the importance of collective responsibility and how everyone plays a role. This repetition drove her points home and created a sense of shared purpose. Antithesis is the placing of a sentence or one of its parts against another, to which it is opposed to form a balanced contrast of ideas. And Roosevelt was a master of contrasts. For example, freedom versus oppression, hope versus despair. These opposing ideas made her message clear and really emphasized what was at stake. Alliteration is the commencement of two or more stressed syllables of a word group, either with the same consonant sound or sound group consonantal alliteration. I need to work on my pronunciation. So Roosevelt really had a way with words. She used phrases like freedom from fear. And these poetic sounds made her words stick in the hearts and minds of her audience. Asyndeton is the omission of conjunctions, and Roosevelt sometimes left out conjunctions in lists, creating a sense of urgency, as though every action needed to be taken immediately. Polysyndeton is the use of a number of conjunctions in close succession, so on the other hand, contrasting asyndeton, Roosevelt used repeated conjunctions like and to show how interconnected global efforts really were, and how each action depended on others. Roosevelt's nonverbal delivery during her speech, The Struggle for Human Rights, exuded confidence, poise, and authority, truly reflecting her deep commitment to the cause. She stood tall and composed, using deliberate gestures to emphasize key points and ensure her audience felt the weight of her words. Her steady eye contact fostered a sense of connection with her audience, projecting sincerity and encouraging engagement. Her vocal delivery was deliberate and commanding, reflecting her deep conviction and the gravity of her message. She spoke with a steady pace, ensuring clarity and allowing her audience to absorb the importance of her words. While Roosevelt did not rely on dramatic vocal variety, her subtle shifts in emphasis and pauses effectively highlighted key points, lending weight to her arguments. So, with a clear picture of her rhetorical brilliance, it is evident how Roosevelt's words and actions have created a lasting impact on the world and continue to influence many today. Although she passed away on November 7th in 1962, her lasting impact and legacy is one that will live on forever. Roosevelt globally influenced many. Her work helped establish human rights as a global priority, greatly influencing policies and really inspiring activists worldwide. Her impact on marginalized groups will also forever be remembered. She championed civil rights for Black Americans, defended Japanese Americans during World War II, and worked tirelessly to combat economic equality. Her quote, my favorite, "Where after all do universal human rights begin? In small places, close to home," remains a really powerful reminder that human rights are both universal and deeply personal. It's a timeless lesson. Roosevelt demonstrated enduring relevance. Her advocacy reminds us of the power of empathy, unity, and action in addressing social injustice and equality. Today I have informed you of the life of times of the famous orator Eleanor Roosevelt, in which we have highlighted her background, rhetorical skills, and lasting impact and influence on many worldwide. Eleanor Roosevelt's life was proof that one voice can change the world, from her groundbreaking professional years to her lifelong commitment to justice. She showed us that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to act in spite of it. And as we reflect on her legacy, let's not just admire her from afar, take her words to heart. Let's fight justice in our own small places and remember that each one of us has the power to make a difference. Thank you.